Welcome to Purposeful Empathy, a show dedicated to spreading more empathy throughout the world. Today's episode is brought to you by Grand Heron International, an on-demand coaching provider for individuals and companies. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the show. All right, so welcome to a new episode of Purposeful Empathy. Today, I am joined by the fabulous Meritxells Garcia, who is an empathy advocate, coach, and author of The Art of Empathy, which is currently available in Spanish as El Arte de la Empatía on Amazon. Welcome, Meritxells.
Thank you. My pleasure being here. Thanks a lot.
And I know that this is a book that's a practical guide for highly sensitive people, otherwise known as empaths. So we're going to talk a lot about that. But I just wanted to let our viewers and listeners know that you also offer customized coaching and training programs dedicated to self-empathy, empathic leadership, and cultivating empathy for others so that they can live in their authenticity. So I'm really, really delighted to have you here today. Well, you're based where in Spain?
Near Barcelona, just in the mountains, but near the city. So
one of my favorite cities in the world. Okay, great. So for viewers who don't really know the concept, could you please help explain what a highly sensitive person is, or an empath?
Yes. So a highly sensitive person is a trait that got discovered by Elaine Aron in the 90s. And basically, we process information deeply. So when we have experienced these conversations, when we walk around the street, generally, most of our population have a filter for all the sensory processing that they get. So as a highly sensitive person, I don't have any filter whatsoever. So right now you're having a conversation with me. I'm actually having 15 conversations with you because I perceive your energy. I perceive your movement, your body language. I see what you say and what you don't say. So we have a lot more processing of words and any stimuli that we get, really. So we get overwhelmed easily when we get to crowded places, when there are a lot of stimuli happening. Also in movies, violent movies or movies that have content that have very strong emotions, it's something that affects us. And it's a personality trait that has different particularities. We are, each person is different, obviously, and it's not only about the highly sensitive trait, but you can be an extrovert or an introvert, and of course, everything mixes up. But we are sensitive to sound or to smells. Like I know when my neighbor is cooking, and maybe some people don't notice it in the room, or if my friends have changed their perfume, or if they have been at their mom's house because they smell like them, but with their mom's house smell. So it's such a it's a beauty, really, to get this kind of extra information that you get. But at the same time, it's also overwhelming sometimes because there's a lot to process. And the trait has different characteristics, really. It's not only about the sensory processing, but it's also about connections that you make. We are more prone to empathy, for example, because our mirror neurons are overdeveloped. So we are able to mirror more other people. So we feel more other people's feelings. And this is where the empathy and highly sensitive combo comes along a little bit.
Wow. So I can imagine in some circumstances how helpful that would be, and also how overwhelming, like if you're with somebody who's not an empathy, but an energy vampire who wants to just suck all your energy, that must be just absolutely exhausting.
It is because, in the end, we sense everything that's in the environment and what's happening with the person that we have in front. So obviously with personalities that are either energy vampires or narcissists, we feel very drained by those conversations. And for those who might be listening to us and don't know what energy vampires are or narcissists are, basically the experience is we all have had friends that we go to have a coffee with them, And once the coffee is over and we get home, we're exhausted. We feel like we've been rolled over by a bus. So, and it's because in a way you left 50% of your energy in that chair, in that coffee shop. And you don't know exactly what it is, but it feels like somebody's pulling something out from you, energetically. And so it's exhausting mentally. It's exhausting, physically to be around people who have this toxic vibe and take out from others.
But the flip side, if you will indulge, can you think of an anecdote when your highly sensitive person, empath, nature kind of showed up and it was beautiful and it was rewarding and helpful?
Yeah, I mean, for example, I worked in America for a while, and when I got there, I had a big group of employees that were under my watch, and I didn't know them, so I had to use all this extra information that I gained to get to know them, and so they could trust me, and then we could create things together. And it was beautiful to see the change. And I remember my first meeting. People were storming out of rooms. People were getting angry at each other. And then little by little, we're creating this culture of trust and safe space where everybody could share. And I feel that everything starts with you. And in that case, my role was to be empathic and to be authentic and to make sure that if somebody was having a bad day, to ask, hey, is everything okay? Because I was reading that something was wrong and maybe I didn't know what it was. And so it's something that I did naturally, but it created these ripple effect that everybody was doing the same thing. So it's nice to create these empathic cultures with other people.
Great. So now when I read your bio on your gorgeous website, like it's so full of joy, I was struck by this sentence. It says, I'm a human, this is talking about you obviously, I'm a human connection geek and a recovered people pleaser. So I'm wondering if you'd indulge our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself and the backstory that brought you to today.
Yes, definitely. So I've always liked people, human connection. I actually studied tourism, which has nothing to do with what I do today, but I watched people all day coming and going from reception when I was dealing with groups. And the thing is that the connection that makes it special with people is that you put something out there from you and that they sense it and they also bring something back to you. So it's what makes us human. Empathy is this invisible thread that we have that connects people. So for me, really, I used to be a people pleaser because when you sense everybody, you get a very good feeling of fulfillment when others are happy because you feel their feelings. So sometimes you confuse them with your own feelings. And this is a problem because you tend to make people happy because you feel their happiness in return. But sometimes you forget about your own needs. So there's no self-empathy in the process. And for me, discovering all this was really when I moved to America, that it was such a cultural shock for me. My tribe was not there, so I had to build my tribe from the ground up. And I started realizing that I was very empathic. And I came across the concept of highly sensitive person, and it really resonated with me. And then from there, I started studying and reading scientific studies, and I was surrounded by books everywhere I went. And I figured out what the trait meant for me and how I could help myself to live better with this sensitivity that I feel is a gift, and it's something beautiful if we know how to empower ourselves through that. So I did that, and once I had that knowledge, I thought that I had to share it, because when you find something good, I think that sharing it with others is what makes it even more special.
Right. Perfect. So with that as a segue, what does self-empathy mean to you, and how can one practice self-empathy, and what are the benefits?
So I'll tell you first what it's not self-empathy. So we all have this critical voice, this inner critic in our heads that tell us that we are not enough, that we didn't do it right, that we failed. And we are our worst friend. We would never talk to anybody the way that we talk to ourselves. And this is terrible for our own performance and our mood and our mindset. So self-empathy is the opposite of that. Is accepting that there are times that you fail and that's okay. And you can use this inner critic for your own good, to analyze the situation and see what went wrong and see where you can improve, but not to give you stick in the head and not carrots. So you need both. You need sticks and carrots. But the self-empathy is very good for having a very happy life with what you have, because sometimes we are wondering what's coming, what's next. So self-empathy grounds us as well in the moment. Where are we right now? And what do we want for ourselves? So I think that having a conscious awareness of who we are and what we need at any time helps us to be better. And I feel that it's the basis for a healthy, empathic life. Being empathic to others is a good thing. But if we forget self-empathy in the equation, then we become people pleasers without realizing.
Mm-hmm. And so do you have practices that you use to ensure that you're staying in check? Like, is there something, a mental model or sort of like a set of questions that you ask yourself to ground you in that?
Yeah, well, what I use is different techniques. I use, for example, labeling. I label my emotions because it helps me understand where I'm at. Sometimes we're having these cyclic thoughts that we go around them all the time. But if we label them with a word, it helps us understand what this is about. Is it frustration? Is it anger? Is it resentment? What is it that I'm feeling? So it helps me connect with what's truly going on. And then instead of going over the problem 25 times and not getting anywhere, trying to understand where am I? And another thing that helps me connect with myself, and it's also part of some of the exercises on my book, is meditation. I feel that calming the inner monkey that we have, our monkey mind that goes around all the time, it helps us to be more centered and feel ourselves. And not only our thoughts and what we think about, but also our emotions and our body. They give us extra information that sometimes we don't use. Our bodies tell us when we like someone or when we don't like them, because your belly gets all contracted or expanded, or even your body language, how you react to people when you interact. So it's something that I always check in with myself, and I would encourage everybody to do it, because it's what gets you to a balanced center with yourself, and this is where you can interact with others from a healthy space.
Yeah, I often tell my students that we have thoughts traveling through our heads all the time, and we believe our thoughts. And wouldn't it be great if we could challenge them a little more often? So this labeling is, when you've got monkey brain happening, or you've been triggered in some way, to be able to sort of focus on what is it that I'm feeling and why. And, to challenge your belief system is such a helpful thing to reduce anxiety, right? Because it's so easy to sort of be in a state of constantly repeating a thought or yeah, I hear you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, the thing that I was going to say is that, we always tell ourselves stories. But if we know that we're going to tell ourselves a story, at least, tell yourself a good one. Because most of the times you tell yourself a story as an anticipation of something that will happen. It's most likely a horror movie or a drama. So if you are going to make up stories, at least that they are a comedy, that have a good ending, and that since you control those stories, that are in your advantage and not something that harm you.
Right. Yeah, I see. How does empathy allow us to be more authentic in your mind? And why do you think that really matters?
I think that empathy helps us connect with other human beings, but first of all, it starts with self-empathy with ourselves. So what I think that it's key for authenticity is that in the end, we're all the same. We all have fears, We all say silly things sometimes. We regret things that we say. Sometimes we go over the same conversations over again as if somehow we could make up the script again in our heads. And we have the same mechanisms to do that. But we don't see that actually we have more things in common than things that separate us, because we focus our attention on the difference. But the difference is really, the sprinkle on the cake. It's not really the cake. And I feel that empathy makes us more authentic because we start losing the fear of being ourselves, the fear of not being loved, of not being enough. And this is something we need to tell ourselves, but we also need to spread this empathy and this love for others so everybody can be whoever they are, because this is where things thrive. When everybody feels free to say whatever's on their heart, whatever's on their mind, and everybody in the group will accept that and embrace it, it's so liberating. This is what freedom really is, to be yourself every day of your life and wherever you go, to not be afraid, because otherwise it's better that they hate you for what you are, that they like you for what you're not. So I would rather have few friends that like me for who I am, that have multiple friends that know just a version of me that it's diminished from the original.
So what do you do? I mean, you're a coach, and also you work with organizations to help bring greater self-empathy and authenticity to a culture. You talk in your book about an empathic gym and and your book has some practical exercises that people could do. So you've talked a little bit already about meditation and labeling, but are there any other exercises that you use to help in that process?
Yeah, there are different types of exercises. One of the things that I teach the most on empathy is active listening. So there are some exercises about when you're having a conversation, trying to listen fully and not only with your ears, with your whole body. You are looking at that person. You are checking in and seeing if that person is doing, any gesture, something that really accompanies the words, because there's a lot of things going on, in the face and in the body. And trying to, because sometimes when we talk to somebody, we are so worried about what we're going to say next that we just disconnect. We disconnect from the other person and we're focused on us. So it's really important to do this active listening exercise, and there are different ones that you can do. For example, one that I do in my courses and leadership classes is trying to just watch a video of someone talking with no audio, and you get surprised of how much information do you get. Some of my students, or the people who come to my classes, they say, I don't know what you were saying, but I know it was something sad, or it was something that touched you deeply, because there's a lot of things that our body's telling us. Or for example, just using audio, just doing an audio call, and understanding as well what is your strongest ability to listen. Is it audio? Is it video? Is it audio and video? Because this also helps you understand how you're able to process more of the information. And that maybe, in a Zoom call is where you're going to get the most, or you prefer calling on the phone because you are more of a listener, ear to ear. So this helps you connect more with people, but also understand yourself on how you listen, what is your strength, and use it to connect with others.
Yeah, I took a facilitation training with a gentleman named Edwin Rutsch out in California in the Bay Area. And if you want me to put you in touch, I'd be happy to do it. But he runs sort of empathy circles and is training people to facilitate empathy circles. And I found it initially so astonishing how bad I was listening. You know what I mean? Like when you learn how to listen with, really being present to what's there, and you're not busy thinking about how you're going to respond or how you feel about what they said. If we learned that from a young age, imagine how the world would be different, right? So what is
No, I was going to say, I know, Edwin, I've done the facilitation training for empathy circles. And there's this really active listening in practice, because we want to add up and just put our opinions out there as if our opinion somehow was going to create this catharsis in the other person. But most of the time, what creates a catharsis in the other person is to listen to themselves, because you process information while you talk. And so what's most effective sometimes is just having someone on the other side that it's telling you, what I've heard from you is that you said this, this, and this. And then you're like, wow, I actually said that. And you not only feel heard and understood, but you are also adding another layer of hearing your speech through somebody else's mouth. So you get to realize what we're actually thinking that you just said.
What is your vision with the work that you do? What are you hoping to achieve?
My purpose really is to get empathy everywhere. And I think that it's needed everywhere. And because we all want to be understood. And sometimes there's the will, but not the tools or the means, and we don't know how to do it. But everybody wants to work in a place where they are able to share what they think, they are able to contribute and co-create. And we want to have healthy relationships that allow us to be ourselves and that allow us to love people and that they love us back for who we are. So I think that empathy is the game changer for institutions, for companies, and for our everyday lives. So with simple tips and training our muscle, it will help to spread empathy everywhere.
So it's so delightful to meet another empathy enthusiast across the ocean in Spain near Barcelona. I hope we'll have the chance to stay in touch weekend, and thank you all for watching and listening to another episode of Purposeful Empathy. See you next time.
What if you had access to your own council of coaches to help you break free of your thinking clutter, make that important decision, and liberate you from what's holding you back? At Grand Heron International, you get to choose the coach of your choice. You get to do so anytime and from anywhere. Visit grandheroninternational.com and harness the power of on-demand coaching today.